This storm is going to make landfall on Florida's west coast. Will it be a little bit to the south of us? I mean, all of those things are very important details that we're fine-tuning depending on where the worst storm surge will be. But regardless, I mean, we're talking rain, wind, and a storm surge threat that is heading our way. So take the time to get prepared, and we'll continue to bring you updates here in the next day or so. Really critical updates to come, and we expect hurricane watches, storm surge watches to drop for the state of Florida likely today. You could see where the current tropical storm warnings are, but we don't have any a little bit closer to our local area. So those are the only areas right now, right along the Yucatan Peninsula, that are under that tropical storm threat. But the 8 o'clock advisory and hurricane hunters have found this storm strengthening pretty rapidly, more so than we expected just from our 5 o'clock advisory. So those winds now up to 60 miles per hour as this storm slowly moving to the east at about 5 miles per hour, but it'll start to pick up a little bit more forward speed. So by tomorrow afternoon, we're talking about a Category 2 hurricane to be likely. We probably see this become a hurricane later today, and then notice Category 1 by later in the day on Tuesday. We're up to a major Category 3 hurricane, and that's the point where a trough will start to steer this more off to the north and east. So this is the general track, and it's held pretty true here. We haven't really seen too much of a budge in this track in the 8 o'clock advisory that just came out. So we're still kind of focusing in on this Wednesday time frame with landfall somewhere along the coast. And it's important to remember 4 days out, the margin of error with this cone is about 150 miles. So we're talking about 300 miles of coastline included in this cone in where we could see a potential landfall. So these are the details that are going to be ironed out today and tomorrow as the storm gets more organized, as we see that more defined center of circulation. We'll start to be able to have a better picture about where we're talking about some of the impacts here locally. But as we look at our model runs, you can see generally pretty good consensus here. There are a couple outliers that are to the north of Tampa Bay, some of those more down to the southwest coast. But at this point, all of our models kind of focusing in on this general thought that brings this hurricane somewhere along Tampa Bay down to southwest Florida areas, and still focusing in Tuesday night through Wednesday night to be the biggest impact time frame for us. And we are still watching for a cold front that kind of drops into the Gulf, and there are a couple of factors that we're watching with this. This is going to create some stronger wind shear right along the Gulf Coast, and we'll also talk about some drier air that it does look like tries to get wrapped around in this storm really right ahead of landfall. So will that impact additional strengthening just ahead of landfall? These are some of the key details that we're looking at. Here's a better picture of what I'm talking about with that mid-level moisture. You can see this brown color here. Notice it on the backside of Tropical Storm Milton, and then you can see some of that kind of getting weaved up into it. So these are some of the details. Maybe this weakens the storm just a bit, or at least holds it from strengthening just ahead of where we're eyeing that landfall. And again, it looks like a little bit later in the day on Wednesday, but we're still eyeing Wednesday to be the time frame that this moves on shore. And as for flood watches, those go into effect this morning, and they last through Thursday morning. So even ahead of this storm, we're already talking about some big rains on the way. And really, I think generally the thought with the rainfall accumulations, 4 to 8 inches, but we do have some pockets that are highlighting some higher rain totals to be possible. So at this point, some big rains are going to be on the way. And already today, we've got a little area of low pressure ahead of Milton. So that's what's helping to enhance some of that rainfall today. Tomorrow, it's kind of a 1-2 punch, because then Tuesday and Wednesday, that's when the main rain event will occur from Milton. But for today, we're just going to be talking about these on and off showers. Some locally heavy rain will be possible at times, and so we're just going to be in this pattern here, and that's really going to hold our temperatures off quite a bit for today. Look at how much of the Bay Area only reaches for high temperatures in the upper 70s. I do think a couple of us will hit right around 80 degrees. Tampa, one of those spots, but that's about as warm as we'll be today under the cloudy, the rainy conditions. Lows tonight in the low and mid 70s all across the area, and then we'll jump right into your 7-day forecast where we're holding with the 80s, and we clear out this storm and sunshine returns at the end of this week.